Edna Lewis was the most prominent African-American cook from the 50s through the 90s.
Edna's the mother of cooking. Just the idea that you can just cook everything from scratch, from the form to the plate. And she also brought Southern cooking to light in so many eyes and so many people.
Red succotash?
That's fish, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I count.
For me, you know, she makes me want to do what I do the best I can do.
What she had going on was, it wasn't, I would say, commercially known, but it was still normal, because that's how you ate, that's what you did.
I want to say welcome. I don't want to be too long. I want Chef Margaret Woods is going to introduce the rest of the board members. James, I saw you. Come on up here with us, brother. I just want to say welcome to all of you. We're here celebrating the birthday of someone who was very dear to me. I've got many stories I can tell you, and in time you'll get a chance to hear them. But quickly, in about 1984, I was working with a group of African-American chefs, and we had put together an organization called the United Culinary Association, which would have been a black caucus in the ACF. And one of the first persons that we wanted to reach out to was Miss Edna Lewis. At the time, she was up in Chapel Hill at Farrington House. And it was just one of the things, all of us had admired her from afar, but none of us knew her. And so finally, we called her, let her know who we were and what we were doing, and she gave us instant encouragement and told us anywhere, anytime, if we called her, she would be there, and she kept her word. She did the first dinner at the A. Adams Hotel in Washington, D.C. with Chef Patrick Clark, myself, come on, Chef Earl Bell. He was there then, that was back in 1992. And then we did dinners at the Grand Hyatt in Washington, and she was present there. And then I took her to Chicago, and we did an African festival for 3 days and just cooked and cooked and cooked. And she just was so much wealth of knowledge about food, you just listened, and you had to learn something. So we are all here with her in our mind and in our hearts. She's missed dearly, and we hope in some way to celebrate her life from this day forward. I had the thought in January at a Minority Chef Summit down in Jacksonville that we needed something in this country that would speak for us as African Americans in the food industry, and I just didn't see it anywhere. And I'm old, so I've been around a long time. And I told Todd and some of the other chefs, we need to start getting the Lewis Foundation. And they just looked at me and said, let's do it. So here we are today at the first event. Hopefully then we'll begin some wonderful things that happen here in Atlanta and around the country. All about Southern food, all about freshness in food, all about food with flavor. We hear many words about farm to table today. It's the buzzword in every restaurant. But Edna was talking about farm to table in 1975 and 76. You know, if it wasn't from the farm, it wasn't fresh, she didn't want nothing to do with it. She took me talking about what's so-called pig knuckles that they soak in some kind of smoke and call them ham hocks. Those aren't really ham hocks, she would say. And so that attitude about food is what we want to try and pass on to the young culinarians coming. But we also want them to respect the authenticity of Southern food. Too often I hear over the last 20 years, Southern food, too much fat, too much salt, too much ham, too much pork. Well, those people usually don't like to eat because all that was flavor they were talking about. Not in abundance, but the proper amount gives food flavor. We need a little salt, we don't need too much. And ham is just good for you. You know, so without further ado, I'm going to let Tim introduce my cohort, Chef Marvin Woods, who's, you know, I called him, I said, Marvin, this is what we want to do. He said, I'm in.
Trailblazer in the industry. She's someone who made a name for herself that, and had a serious food philosophy that is still relevant today.
She's like the queen of country cooking, southern cooking, and you know, fresh, wholesome, natural farm type cooking.
Grandmother of southern cooking, a pioneer of southern cooking, and she's inspired me because I incorporate that in my cooking as well.
He was growing up in the restaurant business the same time Bobby Flay was. And I can tell you that what I've seen matches culinary skills against Bobby Flay any day. And Chef Marvin is here tonight, and I'm just very proud to be his friend. So, Chef Marvin.
Good evening. I am very excited to be standing here for a number of reasons, but first and foremost because Chef Randall called me and said, hey, I got something that's sitting on my heart, and I'm gonna run it past you. And I said, okay. And he said, I want to start the Edna Lewis Foundation. And I said, Chef, let's do it. It's done. So I want to say thank you for that. I want to also introduce to you other brothers and sisters who are standing in arms with us in this. And also want to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight, because for something that we put together in December, to even have this many people here to say, we understand, we believe, we're going to support you, this is what it's going to take for us to get this off the ground and really launch it and get it into the stratosphere that we want it to get to. So I want to thank all of you for coming out. So can you just give yourselves a round of applause, please? Thank you. So we started this out, and we decided we were going to have 13 board members. Some of them are here, a lot of them are here, but not everybody's here. So quickly, Chef Joe Randall is the chair, and we voted on all this. So he didn't say he wanted to start this foundation, he said I'm the chair. We actually voted him the chair. I was voted in as the vice chair, and I'm very happy to be that. We have Chef Erlis Bell sitting next to Chef Randall. Chef Kimberly Brock Brown is not here, but she is on board. Chef Erica Davis also not here. Chef Dal Evans is right here. Chef Charlie Hatney, right here. Mr. Tim Corner, who is the only one on the board who's not in the culinary field, but, but we love that. So we pick on Tim a lot. Chef Dwayne Nutter, Chef Kevin Mitchell, and then, well, actually I take that back because Mr. James Oxidine is on the board, and he's not necessarily a culinarian. He writes about food, but I've yet to see him in a professional kitchen donning a tote pump. So, Mr. Oxidine. Chef Matthew Rayford, a dear friend of ours, another fellow culinarian who's out catching chickens and hogs. True story. Chef Matthew has definitely gotten the farm bug, and he literally, how many hogs is he getting, Chef?
15 hogs.
About 15 hogs. He's getting his hogs today for his farm. And then we have a national advisory board, and we have Mrs. Ruth Smith, who is Edna's sister, Dr. Afwarki Palus, who is Edna's son, Mrs. Nina Williams, Dr. Marcia Eccles, Dr. Clementon Jones, Bruce Craig, Dr. Rudy Lombard, Miss Charlotte Lyons, Mary Moore, Meredith Rayford, also a doctor, Marlene Roberts, and Lenny Sorensen, who's also a doctor. Those are our board, and thank you very much.
Edna Lewis really meant a lot to our culture as Americans. She preserved our legacy as food culture, our food stuff, and our way of cooking in the South.
Chef Joe?
I just want to make sure that we don't overlook Mario, the general manager here at the City Club, and his gracious offering for us to come and do this here. We thank the City Club, all the management, all the employees, and our whole chef Dale Evans for making this all possible. And Chef John Andy, who, you know, when you can't find out if you get Charles down so much close enough, you got me in your eyes. Anyway, I would like Mary to come. Let Kim introduce her.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's my pleasure being I'm not a culinarian, but I certainly know about the escoffier. And so I'd like to introduce Ms. Mary Moore, who has worked with Edna Lewis in the past. And Mary?
It is a real pleasure to be here. I had the pleasure of working with Ms. Lewis back in '93 and '94 at Harry's Farmers Market, and little did I know how much she could change my world. She was amazing. I learned just fabulous culinary techniques from her. I heard incredible stories. You know, we would make sugared raspberries, but then I got to hear the background of the sugared raspberries and how she would make them and pick them fresh and mix them with the sugar and put them in a mason jar and then bury them underground so they would keep. And it was actually a preservative method. And just, you know, stories on and on about that. Enjoying a little, I forget what her favorite drink was. I think it was bourbon, but we often had that at 5 o'clock. So that wasn't bad either. But I'm the international president of Les Dames d'Escoffier, which is a culinary women's organization. We have 28 chapters, including the UK and Canada at this point, and we had the pleasure of honoring Mrs. Lewis in 1999 here in Atlanta when we held a conference as our Grande Dame, and it's just truly, we feel, the highest honor for Les Dames d'Escoffier and one of the highest for women in the culinary world. So we have that pleasure of having Edna as one of our Grande Dames. So I'm thrilled to be on the advisory board. Many thanks to you, Joe and Marvin, for the phone call, and I will do anything to help out with this. And I also know that the Les Dames d'Escoffier Atlanta chapter is already on board and incredibly excited and is looking for ways to partner with the Edna Lewis Foundation. And we'd love to do some educational programs this summer, make it part of our global culinary initiative, some of the history of African cuisine and African American cuisine, and however we can tie it all together. Chef Sonia Jones, who's here, is in Les Dames as well. So consider us officially on board. We'd love to be a partner in any way we can, and just congratulations for the efforts.
Edna Lewis is important to me because she's a founding member of Farm to the Table Cuisine. She was very instrumental in everything that we do today in cooking.
Mrs. Smith was Edna's, and still is Edna's sister, and we're really very, very pleased to have her here. She kind of fills in the puzzle for us, and she fills in some of the blanks of the history that Chef Joe doesn't have, and there are not many. So Ms. Ruth, if you'd like to come up.
Don't let them sit there. I would like to say thank you for everyone. It is my pleasure to be here tonight. It is also a joy to know that Chef has fulfilled a desire that I had that I didn't have to do. He got to the base before I got there. I will always be grateful for knowing him and for the relationship that he had with my sister Edna, and for all these fine people that have joined to be a part of my sister, so you're part of me now, whether you want to be or not. I'm old enough that I can own any of you. I can claim all of you. Edna had a very beautiful life. She enjoyed life. And she did enjoy Jack Daniels, if you want to know which one she drank. But most of all, I think this is the greatest thing that could ever happen to a gracious lady. It has brought her back to life in a very meaningful way. I wondered when I got the call, Chef asked me permission to be involved. And I'm a very busy old lady. And I says, how can I get to Atlanta? Then I had a cousin, didn't ask me, he told me, I'll take you. So for that tonight, I'm thankful, very thankful. I'm very thankful for those of you that knew Edna. She was a very funny person. She enjoyed family most of all. And if I wanted to talk, that would take me a whole evening to tell you what a great time we had growing up as youngsters. We all learned how to cook, but whatever Edna did, she put all of her efforts into it. Every bit. When she learned to sew, when she had to iron, whatever she had to do. She used to even make clothes and be a designer. That was before she got into cooking. But once she got into cooking, I was old enough sometime to work at Cafe Nicholas with her. I was old enough to see her, have my children work with her. And as she retired, I saw her come back to Virginia and leave a very lovely lifestyle there in her home that she had bought and in Freetown, a place that she adored. She grew up there as a child. I wasn't one that was born in Freetown, but her legacy still lives on because one relative bought her place. And I hope someday that you all can come down and just see where she's born, and I'll put you up overnight. You don't have to worry about a hotel. You can sleep on the floor, whatever we used to do when we came along as kids. I'm just so pleased to be here with you all. And if I wanted to say one thing, I believe in the Lord, and He has answered my prayer, and I'm going to read you a portion of scripture that I adore, and it's meaningful for me here tonight because we've waited for this. It's out of one of my favorite scriptures, out of Isaiah 40:31. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. And the chef is going to have all of those things. The world will know now where he's coming from.